People are too hard on unoriginal ideas. I've seen countless media criticized for not being unique. This can be valid criticism, especially in huge franchises. Even in a series, gaming, or film that actively tries to add on to itself in new versions can feel tired or pointless to invest more time into, because there may not be enough change in them to make revisiting the 20th installment of them worth your time. That's not to say it's all bad. There are several series that have lasted for decades and have loyal fans to this day, showing us that not every idea needs to be new and you don't need to reinvent the wheel to still have fun. An old idea can still be fun today whether you tweak it or not, but I do think there has to be some value to going back to something that's already been done before if you want to make it work today. And one of the most underutilized ways people like to revisit old ideas is remakes.
Welcome everybody, my name is LeeTSimba and today I want to talk to you about the ideas behind remaking anime. So this video is going to cover my picks for anime I think should be remade and looking back on the history of anime that have been remade and why. Also, I want to remind you to hit the subscribe button and the like button. Do you know that 99% of the people who watch this video are not subscribed? I don't know why you'd care about that, but everyone says that when they want someone to subscribe, so I'm going to say it too. And now, let's get into it.
They make so much anime every year. It's not all of good quality or the same quality, but I think the anime industry could actually stand to have more remakes in it than it currently has. A big reason why the video game industry has a lot of remakes and remasters is because a lot of those games sold well on their original release and people like them. So financially, it makes sense. I think anime could use that reasoning to make more remakes instead of putting money into 100 new fucking light novel adaptations that probably suck. And guys, don't get it twisted. I like a lot of light novel adaptations, but I'm convinced there's too many of them that don't need to exist. They put more effort into revisiting already loved franchises and breathe some new life into them. Even a series that isn't loved could become loved if remade properly, but the path to that is not as clear as a lot of the more straightforward anime that needs to be remade, and we're mostly going to focus on those. Before we talk about what anime needs to be remade, we first have to look at what anime have already been remade and why. We'll start by looking at Fruits Basket and Hunter x Hunter. Starting with Fruits Basket, there's a 2001 version and a 2019 version. People seem to like the 2001 version when it came out, but it isn't looked back nowadays with that much love. Due to the advancements in animation and seemingly higher budget, the new anime looks and is animated a lot cleaner. The art style did change to look more modern and not like the manga art style or the original. This can however be seen as a plus because it visually appealed to the modern anime audience because it looks like a more modern anime even though the story is 20 years old. That on top of the story following the manga closer than the original keeps manga readers happy. While the original did have anime only changes, there wasn't so much change that made the story at its core completely different from the source material. It still had the same characters, same premise, same conflict. So it might not feel like it warranted a remake, but there's another aspect we have to account for: time. The original anime for both these series came out before the source material they were based off of were complete, so they had to stop the anime before the stories caught up to the manga. Now that the Fruits Basket manga has finished, just giving the anime a sequel wouldn't work because it's been 18 years since it last aired. Animation has been completely overhauled and people can only stay interested in something for so long, so a lot of fans have probably moved on in the 10 plus years since the anime and manga finished. So remake made sense here because with a new season 1, they can bring in new fans, because not everyone wants to go back and watch anime that looks like this, but also give old fans an improved version of an anime they're already a fan of, but complete the whole story this time. It's similar for Hunter x Hunter. The original series follows the manga about as good as the 2011 version, but animation has changed and there's a lot more to adapt now even though Hunter x Hunter isn't finished. And now that we've established why these series were remade, I'd like to apply the logic to two other anime I think should be remade: Aisho 21 and Slam Dunk. They're both old series with old animation styles who didn't finish adapting the whole manga. You're gonna hear me talk about old animation a lot, so let me make this clear. Old animation does not equal bad animation. Aisho 21, even though it came out in the 2000s, still looks good and has incredibly striking scenes in animation that I still think modern anime fans wouldn't find hard to get into. What I do think that modern and younger fans would struggle with is that the whole show is only available in 480p with a 4:3 aspect ratio. Not to mention the pacing for the show is kind of slow. And on top of all that, the anime has only adapted 2/3 of the story, so there's a lot more of Aisho 21 content that anime owners have yet to see. Just so you know, everything negative I've said about Aisho 21 goes triple for Slam Dunk. Oh my god. The animation is bad, the art style is dated, and the pacing sucks. Every now and then, I'd see people debate the greatest sports anime of all time, and you'll see our usual suspects: Kuroko no Basket, Haikyuu, Hajime no Ippo, and Slam Dunk. And because of this, I thought, man, Slam Dunk must be pretty good. And then I watched it, and it kinda sucks. I watched like 28 episodes of it, and only 2 games had happened. They do recaps for every episode, and the pacing is just something out of One Piece, to be honest. But, and this is a big but, the story was good. I watched for 30 episodes because I could tell there was good there. It just needed to be adapted differently. And readers of the Slam Dunk manga still swear by it, and the final games in the series weren't adapted into the anime. There's a new Slam Dunk movie that came out in Japanese theaters at the time of me making this video, and I'm struggling to find details on it, but at the minimum I know it's not a proper remake of the source material. So the avenue for a new Slam Dunk series anime is there, preferably with 2D animation. A Slam Dunk remake done right has a chance to bring Slam Dunk back into the best sports anime of all time debate. And if you think the 90s Slam Dunk is still worthy of being in that debate, you gotta be 40 years old, because there's no way. The next set of anime we're gonna cover all have a reason to get remade that we can all get behind. They didn't follow the manga. Time and time again, we've seen anime for one reason or another just not follow their source material and make anime-only changes that make everyone ask the question, why? Just why? Western media has proven that they can adapt series from a source material and make significant changes to it and still have it be received well. But for anime, they almost always make the worst choices. Let's look at everyone's favorite example of following the manga, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. The original FMA followed the manga faithfully until about halfway through when the anime caught up with the manga. Then the anime did its own thing. Honestly, people don't hate the anime-only version of FMA as much as other anime-only changes in anime, but Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is constantly regarded as the best anime of all time. Brotherhood only came out 5 years after the original FMA finished. There was no significant change in how animation was made during this time, but following the manga on top of the same team trying to make a better product of a show they already made pushed the show over the edge. There's not much to say about FMA. You've probably already seen it, but I do want to focus on how quick they made this remake. Because it just goes to show you that you don't have to wait 10 or 18 years to remake an anime. In an ideal world, you don't even have to wait 1 year. Because, oh my god, how do you fuck up the Promised Neverland like that? First season was great. And in season 2, not only did they skip such a large portion of what happened in the manga, they rushed the ending. And the manga ending wasn't even good. The Promised Neverland is a manga that had a strong start, but fell out halfway through the story, to be honest. Maybe even earlier than that. But the anime skipped what people consider the second best arc of the series. My favorite arc of the series, by the way. If they remake season 2 and just follow the manga until the end of the Goldie Pond arc, everyone would be happy. Apart from Brotherhood, we've seen this remake model work with Hellsing and Hellsing Ultimate. Same story. Anime caught up to the manga, anime had to do its own thing, manga finishes, the new anime adapts manga faithfully. There is a series I want to talk about that had a different path from the original FMA and Hellsing that could still use a remake. Trigun. The Trigun anime had severe changes to its source material, but unlike Hellsing and FMA, the manga finished over a year before the anime came out, and the anime and manga are both good. It seemed like the makers of the anime had their own vision that differed from the manga, so they just went for it, and it worked out. So you can read the anime and the manga and have different but good experiences for both. It's interesting, because over 20 years later, Trigun is actually getting a reboot, Trigun Stampede. Details on the story aren't fully out there yet, but it's going to be a CG anime, and the director stated that it's not going to be a one-for-one adaptation of the manga. It's going to be doing its own thing in the anime while trying to capture the core appeal of Trigun, like the original anime did. If the series sucks though, we can always get a proper 2D remake of the anime that follows the manga down the line. And following the manga isn't everything, but there's another series where I would like them to follow the manga. But given the success of the original anime version, I don't think it'll ever happen. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is great. I think people have this idea in their heads that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like Pokemon, a series made for kids that'll run forever just to push merch and sales of their games. They are right. But some of you may not know that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is based off a manga that was very different from the anime. The original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime you think of isn't the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. This is. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Commonly referred to by the community as Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0. This Yu-Gi-Oh! Focused on Yugi and his friends playing duel monsters and trying to win tournaments while simultaneously trying to fight off evil people and Egyptian spirits. Resolve conflict by playing duel monsters. The original Yu-Gi-Oh! Was mostly just Yugi and his friends minding their businesses, but someone would threaten them, harass them, bully them, and the pharaoh would pop out and face them in a game and break their minds if he defeated them. The manga was inspired partly by a horror series because Takahashi, the creator, wanted to write one before he did Yu-Gi-Oh! I found it so much more engaging how darker it was and how every episode of the original would focus on a different game and a different strategy to beat the opponent, who could just be cheating or have an unfair advantage in the game than just playing duel monsters in every episode. The reason why the original series got remade into Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters was because of the popularity of duel monsters ever since it showed up in the manga, and now it's had several animes and films based around it, and it gave birth to the giant juggernaut that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game is today. That being said, I still think there's something special about the original Yu-Gi-Oh! That Takahashi envisioned. I doubt it'll be seen as worth it for Jump to make given how successful the other Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime are, but a man can dream. And the award for the #1 anime that needs a remake above all else is Tokyo Ghoul. I love Tokyo Ghoul, anime and manga, but even I can admit most of the anime doesn't work. The majority of the events that took place in the first season of Tokyo Ghoul took place in the manga, but they cut so much content in the anime. The community looks down on even season 1, but I will defend it and say that it made sense as I watched the anime. But everything after is an L. Tokyo Ghoul Route A was a mix of filler and canon events that happened in the manga, but completely changed the context of which these events and fights happened, if they even happened in the anime. Even though I defend season 1 for not being bad like most people say it is, I still don't think it should have happened. Instead of 24 episodes of anime that don't give the source material the context that it deserves, it should have been 50 episodes that follows the manga. I cannot speak on Re because I have not seen it, but I was told they also tried to adapt the whole Re manga into 24 episodes, and everyone says it sucks. So I think Tokyo Ghoul needs a from the ground up remake of this anime. More than anything else on this list, Tokyo Ghoul should get remade. We've gone through all the obvious series that should be remade and the ones most deserving, but now I want to talk about some less obvious series that aren't in dire need of remake, and some shows people think need remakes, which I don't. The Fate series has shown us that visual novels can be made into multiple versions. Fate Stay Night has 3 separate anime. I'm not talking about all the Fate anime, I just mean Fate Stay Night. Because it's based off of a visual novel, it has multiple story options and endings, and each of the Fate anime editions follows a path where the main character pursues a different girl, giving you a different experience every time you watch a Fate Stay Night anime. We've seen a lesser version of this in other visual novel adaptations like Steins Gate and Clannad. Clannad made paths where the main character pursued a different girl into separate OVAs, while Steins Gate took a bad timeline ending from the visual novel that got adapted into an OVA, a sequel, that is Steins Gate 0. Visual novels have a lot of choices where they can take a story, so although I don't have any specific ones in mind, I think it would be cool to see what Fate Stay Night did to other visual novel adaptations. As far as some animes that I don't think need to be remade, I want to say classic animes. It's vague, but in general I see people talk about how they should remake stuff like Cowboy Bebop because it's so good. I think that misses the point of a remake entirely. Cowboy Bebop and a lot of the 90s anime are still great to this day, so a remake of a show that still holds up is kind of pointless. I think the idea behind the Evangelion rebuild movies does work. Even though the anime is loved, the original anime ran out of budget towards the end of production, and it seemed like Hideaki Anno had another take on the Eva story he wanted to tell and improve upon. But in most cases, although I could welcome a remake of some series, I don't think something should be remade purely just because it's old. To get to this next and final point, let's take a look at Dragon Ball Z. Beloved shonen, revolutionary for its time, has its flaws, its detractors, etc, etc. Dragon Ball Z Kai remade Dragon Ball Z, which was already a success, but fixed the pacing and moved the little amount of filler that Dragon Ball Z had. They took 293 episodes and turned it into 160. That is a 133 episode reduction and almost cuts the view time for Dragon Ball Z in half. You know how people complain that Dragon Ball Z is just 3 episodes of guys charging their attacks before anything happens? Kai removes that issue altogether. They had some minor changes with music and the dubbed cast isn't all the same voice actors, but I still think its existence matters, and it's a much better way to get into Dragon Ball than just watching Dragon Ball Z. I would also like to use the blueprint of Dragon Ball Z Kai to remake One Piece. I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. It was just great for hundreds of episodes, but then they made the pacing painfully slow to not catch up to the manga. One Piece is so huge in Japan that when the series ends, a year later they could probably announce One Piece Kai, and it would do well. All the episodes will have the new animation that they have in Wano. Instead of being like 1,300 episodes, the anime will be 700 when it's done, maybe about that amount. It's still a lot of episodes, and given how many times Toei has made specials just recapping One Piece, it'll probably never happen, but I think it would be something special if it ever did come to be.
And that is going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. And if you liked the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button with the bell icon so you never miss another upload. If you have some anime that you think should be remade or disagree with anything I've said throughout the whole video, just comment it down below. Let's talk about it. You know, I could actually make another one of these videos, but I think I got the main anime that need to be remade that I want to talk about. And I know people love Brotherhood to death, but like that first part, the pacing's just, I don't know, bro. But anyway, I can't get into it now. That's a whole other video. Comment if you like to see it. And I'm LeeTSimba, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.